Well, it's draft day and more breaking news continues to fall as we just found out that the Bulls are not discussing a contract extension with DeMar DeRozan and seemingly have no plans to. We're going to get into all and more as only we can do right after this.
Tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
I see red, I see red, I see red, I see red, yeah, I see red, I see red, I see red, I see red.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So another day, another rumor. This one comes from Chris Haize of TNT and Bleacher Report. He says this: at this point right now, Chicago and DeMar DeRozan can work out an extension. I'm told that there are no talks at this moment on the extension. The Bulls are trying to find a spot for Zach LaVine. So it's kind of what we've already been hearing and expected is that there's no extension in the works for DeMar DeRozan. He has until June 30th to come up with a contract extension before he reaches unrestricted free agency. Now, that does not limit the Bulls' flexibility, even if he does hit unrestricted free agency. But if you take this with a grain of salt and kind of read the tea leaves on the change of direction, it seems like the Bulls are going with their roster. It seems like everything is shaping up for DeMar DeRozan to no longer be a Chicago Bull. Now, I want to make sure that I point out the fact that Chris Haize says that they still can work an extension. But in that regard, in that quote, it means that technically that they still have time to work out extension, not that they are looking to work out an extension. So with that being said, it seems like the writing's on the wall. DeMar DeRozan's time with the Chicago Bulls may be coming to an end, and the Bulls finally may be forging some real change. Now, is it possible that the Bulls are focused on the Zach LaVine trade, which is another part in this as well, after hearing that the Bulls could be maybe looking to hold on to Zach LaVine because of his potential fit with Josh Giddey, hearing that the Bulls are still focused right now on finding a landing spot for Zach LaVine. But if you pair that also with moving on from DeMar DeRozan, that's two out of the big three that then at that point will be gone for the Chicago Bulls. And that would indicate a major change that many people doubted that the Bulls were even going to do. Came into a lot of situations right now that that when it comes down to it is that a lot of people did think it's supposed to be not discussing. Let me update that on the thumbnail. That's bad grammar. But when it comes down to it, it seems like right now that the Bulls really are looking to make major changes. And when AK did say that this roster wasn't the roster to get it done, that he realizes that maybe he's finally backing that up with words. We'll end up seeing if that ends up being the case. You know, I had my doubts on if some serious change would come for the Chicago Bulls. And it seems like we're going along that path. Already set us down it with moving on from Alex Caruso. Andre Drummond's gone, not likely to return. Torrey Craig's leaving as well. Zach LaVine, the Bulls are focused on the Zach LaVine trade. You add into that moving on from DeMar DeRozan, that is some significant change. And it could be an indication as well that the Bulls are maybe prioritizing holding on to that pick in 2025, that top 10 protected pick. We can't say that yet. Right? I don't want to make it seem like that's the foregone conclusion yet, but it is a possibility when it comes down to it. So seems like the Bulls are making some serious and major changes at this time. And let's hope and see that if that continues. Ultimately, to me, what I've said before is that if this change does hold on for the Chicago Bulls, it's going to give them, reset the clock for them. Realistically, you reset it, you get 2 or 3 years to really start showing that you're building something, in my opinion, that's being a playoff contender, right? And again, not a contender for a title, but being a team that can get into the playoffs. You're already kind of jump-starting a potential retooling with having Kobe White, having Ayo Dosunmu down there, now with Josh Giddey. These are all players that we've seen what they can be at the NBA level. You add in another promising pick with whoever you draft in this one with the right pick. You've reshaped your roster. You have some pieces that you at least hope are going to be pieces that you build around, as well as hearing earlier today that an extension is likely as well for Patrick Williams. Seems like the Bulls are prioritizing that younger skill set, the younger kind of flow for the Chicago Bulls. And we just got to see if they're going to execute it correctly. It was always the smartest bet to go younger and to build organically over time. That's how you build a sustainable winning franchise. But I need Bulls fans to realize that this will probably mean in the sense that you're not going to have a team that is competing for playoff wins anytime soon. This could be a scrappy team, could be a team that definitely still wins a handful of games, right? More than a handful. That's not fair. But it seems like we may be a team that is not tanking, but it's just naturally in a spot where they're not going to win a lot of games. They're going to get some nice draft capital over the next couple of years, and we'll see what that means. But for those that are just hopping on, per Chris Haize, the Chicago Bulls are not discussing a contract extension with DeMar DeRozan and seemingly have no plans to leading up until the June 30th deadline. And best believe, and I've said this many times, I've basically been saying this for a year, if DeMar DeRozan does hit unrestricted free agency, there are going to be teams that are contending that are going to try to get him. And if at this twilight of DeMar DeRozan's career, he's prioritizing getting that title that has eluded him, I don't know if the Bulls can match. Not even the money. We're not worried about the money, but because we can offer him more than what anybody else can, but offer him the opportunity to really, really compete for something meaningful. But let's go to the comments and see how you guys are feeling about this right now. We got Shay in the building, says, I'm not trying to sound like an ass, but are we surprised at this point now that Josh Giddey is on our team? Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, there's still a little surprise from it because this indicates a complete change from what we've seen happen with the Chicago Bulls. It just is. This is a complete course correction from what we've seen about him before. Mr. O says, dang, I just bought my jersey too. See, that's why I don't buy a lot of jerseys anymore. Man. But hey, it is what it is. I honestly hope DeMar leaves. He doesn't deserve to have his talent wasted just so the Bulls can be mediocre. Could agree with that too. And like I've said before, this isn't anything about me crapping on DeMar as a player. DeMar, his play has earned him another contract. But this isn't a perfect world. Everything that you earn doesn't mean that you're going to get in the NBA. Once a team decides to go a different path and a different route, you may not fit that new path and route. And that's what it seems like is coming with the Chicago Bulls. So we'll see. York says, draft a center, please. A lot of people agree with that. Soul to Don says, hey, thank you for the information. DeMar DeRozan, love you, bro, but I never was feeling the 2-year, $40 million. Thank you for your time. A lot of people are going to agree with that one. Mig says, nice. With the acquisition of Giddey, I don't think DeMar will re-sign with the Bulls. Definitely something that says that as well. My only issue is that they're forced to do it now. Caruso not re-signing. Well, he was traded. We didn't even know. I don't even know the Bulls got to the point of offering him a contract extension. TC and Drummond having an option. Zach wanting a trade and DeMar leaving. Hey, it doesn't and I've said this about AK and Eversley before. Sometimes things have to be forced upon them, and that just is what it is. I'll be honest, a roster of Josh Giddey, Terrence Shannon Jr., P. Will does excite me for the future for sure. I won't say that gets me excited. It's going to be interesting to see how that all balances out, but we'll see. I believe the Bulls are trading down. Bulls v might get 2 picks in the first round. Well, that's the thing. Trading down is not like in the NFL. If the Bulls trade down, they're probably not going to get 2 picks in the first round. I think the more likely scenario is that as in a Zach LaVine trade, a team can absorb, and maybe you're only taking back bad contracts, and then you get a first round pick. Or if you unfortunately maybe trade like an IO, which I don't want the Bulls to do, we'll see. All KC says there's a world LaVine could stay, but always kind of knew that. I still think he gets traded. Still like the Magic trade, get the 18th pick and get Ware and Shannon Jr. We don't even know if that's really on the table, Vaughn, but I feel you. I've always loved that deal as well. AA says why the Bulls didn't get a first pick or anything out of DeMar is crazy. It goes back to, again, this front office always waiting too late to strike. If they would have moved DeMar DeRozan at the trade deadline, they would have gotten a first round pick. At the minimum, they would have gotten a first round pick. Steve-O says, thank God. You should be up here, bro. But Steve-O says, thank God. Detroit is a perfect example of why we shouldn't take. Exactly. But that's why I said it's not about tanking. This is like tanking and retooling are very different. And a retool can look like several different things. Tanking means you're getting rid of players. You're just selling them off, trying to get as many draft picks back, whatever. Retooling in this sense means that the Bulls are going younger naturally and their own picks, which they only owe another pick, 1 first round pick outright. They own all their other first round picks. If you're bad over time, right, you want to see a team that still fight, that's scrappy, right? Think about the baby Bulls, right? I don't think the Bulls are ever going to tank, but they are going to be a team that does prioritize the development of the young guys. And what that does is that, let's say that you do move on from DeMar, you move on from Zach. At that point, Kobe White, Josh Giddey, Patrick Williams, whoever you draft in this draft, Ayo Dosunmu, Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry, let's say all these, Adama Sanogo, Ernolot Batim, All these guys are getting minutes. And let's say you do end up making the play in then you look at your roster and you say, hey, these young guys got something. If you miss it and you keep your top 10 pick, you then can say, hey, we evaluated these young guys. They had every opportunity. There was no vets that we could say are holding them back. Now we know which ways we need to pivot. So it's an evaluation period that's going to happen here. Salute Shy City. Absolutely, Paul Masters. Glad to have you in the building. We got Joe in the building, says, is the best case scenario for the Bulls to get these young guys reps and pull the plug after 55 games? Could be, right? You're evaluating at that point as well, too. Could be. That's basically what AK did when he came in here that first year. He gave up until the trade deadline, evaluated the young players and Daniel Gafford, everybody, and then made a series of moves. So it very well could be that as well. Salute Shy City. What's up with that? I love DeMar on the Bulls, but I mean, everything has to come and go at some point. That's just what it is. Everything comes to an end. We'll see. We'll see. What's up? How you doing? I'm doing mainly okay, bro. Would you think about trading for Ingram from the Pelicans? Here's the thing. That's the type of move that if the Bulls were keeping this together that I would like to see the Bulls to make. If they're truly going younger, now he is an expiring contract, so let's say that the Pelicans are willing to take Zach LaVine. You get back Brandon Ingram. I don't know where they pick in this draft. I'm not mad at that deal, but I don't think you're getting Brandon Ingram at that point to really save your team. So we'll see. Thoughts on Giddey playing at the 3 versus no, I don't like Giddey at the 3 at all. I just don't. I like Giddey at the point guard. He doesn't really have the size to play threes, especially in the modern. I don't like it, but that doesn't mean that Billy Donovan won't, because he may play power forward under Billy Donovan. Bulls waited too long for that LaVine trade. Spurs traded DeJounte at his high. Michael was traded at his high. Mikal Bridges was around 25 points per game and plays defense, was traded at his prime. Well, prime and high are different, because if they would have traded Mikal at his prime, that would have actually been in the 2022-23 season. They actually traded him after a down season, and were kind of that people thought that Mikal Bridges was going to make this superstar leap, where that luster wore off. So I don't think the Mikal Bridges is one is selling at their height. Prime, technically, Zach LaVine is in his prime age-wise. But yeah, DeJounte definitely was at his height for sure. And I agree with everything else you pointed out there. Everything else. One guy on ESPN was saying Edey at 9 to Memphis was the highest spot he heard. Good for him. As long as it's not the Chicago Bulls. I don't care about anything that's not the Chicago Bulls today. Quentin says, congrats on the national TV spot. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Just bring me Cooper Flagg to join Caleb Bedard and Reese. I mean, listen, that would be a really and Caleb Williams, like that would be crazy if the Bulls were next season able to get that. I'm not going to hold out hope because we don't have very much luck here in Chicago, but we'll see. We'll see. Honestly, at this point, I don't really care who we trade away as long as we're not moving Ayo, Kobe White, or Patrick Williams. I can't say that all three of those guys may be on the roster either when it's all said. I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm not saying necessarily that they are either. So, hey, Haize, which prospect do you see rising the most today? That is a great question. I think most of the Well, it depends on. I'm so indoctrinated with mock drafts now, doing the draft coverage that I've been doing, so I may have a skewed view on what's dropping or falling. I think that Ron Holland, considering he came into the beginning of this draft process considered to be top 3, then he dropped down to top 5. Now they're saying late lottery. I think that he could fall the most out of this, and that's not to say that he's gonna crap out or anything like that, but I think he has the biggest chances to fall. And then I think as far as rising the most in a draft like this, probably Kyle Filipowski, definitely Tristan Da Silva. Those are guys that definitely have chances to rise as well in this draft, I would think. Buzelis supposedly schooled Flag in the game is obviously they were younger. I mean, listen, Buzelis, I love his confidence. I love Buzelis' confidence. He has that edge. He has that it factor. Hopefully he comes out in there. Zach Edey can't save himself from a paper bag. He's not our savior at all. Is Drum gone for sure? Yes, Drum is basically gone for sure. He's going to opt out. The Bulls aren't going to be able to match what he's going to get out there unless he signs another vet minimum contract. I believe Drum is gone. So, but we'll see. We'll see if the Bulls do go wing. Maybe if they trade Vooch, maybe some things happen. We'll see. But yeah, if I had to put a percentage on, I'll say it's probably about a 95% chance that he's gone. Vern in the building says, "Sup, bro? Do you expect a complete youth movement? Because I don't. We'll see. I mean, complete. There's always going to be some veterans on the team. Always. There's always going to be some veterans on the team, and we can't say complete youth movement because the ball-headed hoe Javon Carter is going to be on this team because ain't nobody taking. So we'll see. We'll see. But all right, y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I had to bring this news to you once I saw it. We'll see what the future holds for the Chicago Bulls. As you can see, I'm in my draft day fit. Hopefully the gold brings us some gold goddamn luck. Plus, I'm going to be on TV with Shams after the Bulls pick. So had to bring the best. I may even put an earring in. No, I'm just playing. I'm not going to do that. But I love you guys, man. Go Bulls. See Red, man. We'll be back here live during the draft. Love you guys, man.